Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Kyle, Joe, Ashley. How is everyone?
Fabulous.
All right.
Kyle's gonna say, well.
Not doing great, guys. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'm the pessimist in the group.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. All right, but we do actually want to hear how it's going, Kyle. So we have decided to do updates this episode, and you're first on my list. So
every time,
and we told everyone except Kyle. Everyone
every
except
time.
Kyle. So specifically,
yeah. So Kyle, how's life, man? Give us some updates.
Yeah, well, you'll notice the garage door is gone. Actually, it's not. I just moved it over where you can't see.
I was gonna say,
I can still see it. I see those hockey stick looking things sticking out.
Still kind of poking out over there. Yeah. Anyway, well, this actually is a big one. I haven't said it on the podcast, and I guess people, who follow me on social media.
People who
probably
matter know.
already know. But I haven't said anything about it to the community. But Hannah and I are expecting baby number 3 in June. So, and we actually just found out that it's going to be boy number 2, which I'm super happy about.
Team Blue.
Yeah. I don't know what I would have done with another girl. I think one girl is enough, and that's good. So baby number 3 is a boy, gonna be here in June. So
nice.
There you go. My one great update for
that's
the
a big
year.
one.
That's a big one.
I mean, only thing that could probably top that's an air fryer. So
oh goodness. Yeah. Okay, whatever. All right. Ashley.
So we got a new car, not a new kid, but new to us car, which has been fun. It was fun car purchasing. But Scott's interviewing for the airlines, which is kind of cool. Just kind of prepping for the future and stuff. So he flew to Dallas yesterday and went and interviewed with American. I think overall he'd like to fly with Southwest. So anyone who's a Southwest person listening, maybe get his application in and big news for myself. I'm headed to the strength track for the first time in my GGA history. And I mean, I feel like day 1 should just be called Ashley Day. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much.
Joe's winning over a lot of people slowly with just his like super chill guy vibe, Everyone's like, yeah, let's go to the strength track where things are just, we do some hard work, but
it's my own daily.
It's gonna be stressed out.
It's your own daily over decades. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's awesome though.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Joseph.
Well, happy to have more coaches on mine. I feel like it's more pressure because all kinds of people are coming to strength. I'm like, all right, I'm going to bring it. But I definitely think it's going to be pretty challenging the first month, especially if you're, depending on what your aspirations or thinking are, mindset is towards strength. But for me, first set of movers came yesterday. My office is very empty. There's no books behind me. And there's a lot of other stuff not here. I'm not in my awesome chair. That got taken away from me. So first set of movers, but that's good. Next set of movers comes in next week. And then we're out of the house the day after that and living in a hotel for who knows how many weeks until we can find a house in Monterey. So that's a lot going on. So this is the last time I'll be in a recording in here for this podcast, even though we're recording ahead of time. And this week because when traveling, I have a hard time working out.
Pull the Kyle.
Yeah, whatever. And This week is my first full week of lifting again. After traveling and while traveling, I worked out with Jerred, but then also I ran a little bit, but I didn't lift anything, and I didn't work out much because that's just what happens when you're busy traveling, whatever. And yeah, it's been a rough week. It was very, very leg sore, and I didn't even do a full barbell workout. I did some other stuff, but still did enough to get back into it. It was kind of like a deload week that I threw together, but I am happy that the weather here is amazing and it is perfect running weather. So I did 2 run workouts this week and I'm pretty happy about that. So yeah.
Nice.
But I did notice we talked about recovery metrics recently, and after the red eye and the long flight over, it was 20 some hours, and not training for so long and training now and trying to get my sleep was terrible for 5 or 6 days. Change in climate, head congestion and stuff. Aura was actually telling me hey, you probably should still be taking it easy because your body temperature is a little bit high, or your heart rate variability is getting back to where it was, but it's still not what it should be. It's still kind of off. So you should probably still just do a little bit easy stuff. And I was okay, I'll kind of listen to this. And after a couple of days, I was yeah, it's getting a little bit better, but not completely better. So that's also why my workouts were a little bit dialed back to a certain degree, but I still tried to get some good ones in, especially my run day yesterday.
All right, we'll get into the study.
Jerred, you didn't.
Yeah, I don't think I have a lot going on. Life-wise, just been plugging away. I live in a world of kids sports. I feel like that's basically a majority of my life is my children doing different activities. We did 3 dance recitals in 6 days last week. And William's in basketball and football, Graham's in a soccer thing, and all these things are several hours long. So yeah, I'm making use of that time by watching him and listening to audiobooks and enjoying it. It's fun. It's fun to watch them play different stuff.
You don't socialize with other people that are there? A
lot of people drop their kids off and
leave. Little spot over there.
I mean, you can keep going down that, but
really?
I already answered. Yeah. A lot of people drop off and leave. Wow. Yeah.
They're kind of young for that.
Well,
happened to me.
Eleanor's different.
Joe's nope, I'm dropping my kid off.
Yeah, most people, it's a confined environment. They feel safe with it. I just don't know. I feel like it's a waste of time. One, I actually kind of want to watch them. And then
right.
2,
going back and forth, I feel it's a lot.
Nothing's close here. Even it's in the same town, but still it's going to be 15-20 minute drive to come home, even if it's 2 hours.
Woohoo, Texas.
And so I 40 drive there, drive back, drive there, drive back. So
yeah,
over an hour of driving, it's just not interesting to me. So
there you go.
Yeah. So anyway, but they're doing lots of cool stuff, and it's really all I got going on, other than getting excited for the 300 challenge.
Woohoo!
Consuming all my thoughts and energy at the moment, trying to get prepped for it, and making sure I have all the rules dialed in for everybody. And if you want to be part of that challenge, make sure you listen to that webinar that we did recently.
A couple weeks back.
Yeah. And I have all the details in there. And then check the Facebook group if you're part of it, and join. It'll be fun. We're giving away a rower. That should be enough for you to go listen to it and find out more details on it. So yeah. Who's participating from here?
Well,
everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I might be kicked out the first week because of flying back to the States. But
you're just gonna get knocked down a level. It's not, you can't get kicked out of the whole thing right off the start.
I'll stick to the 300. I'll average it out for that month at the very least, and then
you're I'm going for 300 level 3, but you end up with 200 level 1 just because of life.
So, yeah.
He's not even denying it.
Yeah, slippery slope.
Well, I will get really frustrated. I'll just say straight up mad the day that I get eliminated from a level. That will make me mad, because you can't do anything about it. There's no making it up. If you miss the calories in a training session. If you miss the minutes in a week, you can't make those things up. So you'll already be knocked down a level. So my minimum is going to be 300 level 1, but I'm shooting for 300 level 3. I think I will be able to do it if I'm really dialed in. So we'll see how it goes.
Steady.
No, I want to talk more about
okay.
William and football. No. So we have we're covering a study that was done in 2021, overtraining syndrome and relative energy deficiency in sport, which is called RED-S. I had not heard of before. I've heard a lot of overtraining syndrome, but not RED-S, and shared pathways, symptoms, and complexities. And so it's a pretty interesting study. Let me pull up what I had here. It was just a huge, we do a lot of systematic reviews and meta-analysis and stuff, but it was in that vein. They looked at a bunch of different studies. So many different people involved, thousands of people, a bunch of studies, but they didn't run it through whatever the scientific format to make it officially like a systematic review or something.
Right.
But they really just wanted to look at any negative outcomes of excessive training load when you were under eating, and they looked at specifically like under fueling, so low energy availability, or not eating enough carbohydrates, or it was another thing they looked at. And we can dive into this study a little bit more, but I wanted to also go over table 1 and symptoms observed in overtraining and low energy availability in the studies. And here they are. They're all, so overtraining syndrome and RED-S have the same in everything here except for decreased bone health. That's only in RED-S, but it's not in overtraining syndrome. So I'm going to go over them real quick. So decreased endurance, decreased strength, speed, or power, injury or illness, higher risk or outcome, decreased glycogen or protein synthesis, poorer judgment of reaction time, negative impact on sex hormones, negative impact on HPA or HPG axis, negative impact on hematological or biochemistry markers, negative impact on immune function, negative impact on metabolic or cardiovascular markers, decreased bone health, poorer mood, emotional state, sleep quality, perceived fatigue, appetite. And that last one is the one I want to hit on most because everything else I mentioned, a lot of those are actually like, negative impact on sex hormones. You're not really going to know that unless you have like a significant, like very, very low sex hormone to where it's affecting something specific. Like in men, if you have really low testosterone, your energy levels are going to plummet. Your sex drive won't be there. Just like a lot of bad things. Right. And so you would know if it was extremely low, but if it's just getting moderately low, you're probably not going to notice because you can be within this range of normal, and even on the low end, you're still not going to know what's going on. But things that you can pick up on right away if you're training too much would be like, am I depressed? Do I have am I in a bad mood? Not as happy? What's my emotional state? Are you having a lot of sleep disturbances and not sleeping well? A lot of like this random fatigue. Is your appetite off? These are things that we can pay attention to and are fairly easy to pick up on. And there is a lot of focus in the fitness world on eating too much, right? This overeating, that's really the bigger problem, I would say, in the world, is people eating too much. But I really don't feel like people listening to this podcast necessarily, a majority of people listening to this podcast or who do our training on a regular basis, are falling too much into that category. A lot of us could be just under eating, not eating enough for our activity levels. And this definitely is not talked about enough in training. Like, it's not talked enough about in fitness world, about how this can affect you. So that's the basics of the study. What did you guys think?
I liked the premise of it for sure, because we all talked about this before, but we never really heard about RED-S. But the fact that overtraining and reduced energy, these two things have all of these similar symptoms, similar negatives but are caused from two different things. And there can definitely be a struggle with athletes when they're trying to, like, okay, especially the I want it all effect, it's like, okay, I want to get stronger, I want to get better, and I want to, lose fat. So it's like, I'm going to do all this working out, and then I'm not going to eat as much. So it's like, are you overtraining? Are you not eating enough? Which one, if you're experiencing symptoms, which one could it be? And I like that this one broke down or talked about the difference in them. So I like the premise of it, because I didn't really know that there was how they would be separated. I would have kind of lumped them together, but they're not. So I did like that, and that they, that they got a bunch of studies to look at for it. So that's about all I really will say for now, until we get into more of the dialogue deeper. Kyle?
Yeah, so it talks about overtraining quite a bit, and what overtraining is, and I just feel like we kind of have to say that, like, overtraining is actually really, really difficult to achieve. And it even kind of talked about that in the breakdown we read about like all of these, like none of these studies were looking at lifters either. They were looking at mostly people who were participating in sport, or people who were endurance athletes. And so that's where you're going to see something like overtraining happen. And overtraining is something that happens over a long, long period of time. You experience this dip in performance, and you experience also other more severe physiological and psychological effects for a long period of time. And it's not something that just happens like when you first start out in a new track, or you first start out in a new workout regimen or something like that. You start trying something new and your performance goes down, or you get more tired than usual or something like that. Like, that's not overtraining. And so I just kind of feel like we need to highlight that as well, is that, like, overtraining is actually really difficult to do and almost impossible to do if you're doing exclusively like resistance training. It's really hard to do that, just because the strain on your body is just not as high. And so yeah, that's something I took away as well, was just like, if you're thinking about overtraining, you're thinking about this energy availability that you have, or lack of energy availability. Like, it's probably not overtraining. It's not that serious, because that's pretty difficult.
I just want to make sure that we're clear on what you're saying, Kyle, because you're kind of saying, like, don't worry about any of this. It's basically impossible. But I don't.
No.
I don't. Okay, that's what I'm hearing, and I just want to make sure that's not what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh, what I'm saying is, what you're experiencing is probably not actual.
Like, if you're just sore from the start of a new track after.
Right.
Gotcha.
Or like they talk a lot in the study as well about, like, energy availability and how that went down, and how people are experiencing fatigue and those types of things. And what we're actually talking about here, and what the study found, was that it's most likely not actually overtraining by the clinical definition of the word overtraining. What you're experiencing is something different. And we're going to kind of talk about what it actually probably is for you. Overtraining is absolutely possible. And it's not, and
100%.
these physiological effects that you're seeing, this lack of energy, this dip in performance, those things are real. And those things are things you should take note of. But if you hear the word overtraining, and then it kind of gets in your head, like, oh, well, I must be overtrained or something like that. Overtraining is really, really difficult to actually achieve. And so that's kind of what I'm saying, is, like, have the proper perspective and the right mindset of what it is that's happening to you. Ashley.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that we've talked about overtraining so many times now with so many different studies, that I hope that, people are wise up to it. One of the things that it made me think about was, just day-to-day CrossFit athletes. Like, I'm not even talking about elite CrossFit athletes, but just being high intensity all the time. And how it can, not just your mood and everything, but you look at the table 1 and all the different hormonal outcomes and stuff like that, and from being a person who is suffering from some issues, it just makes me wonder, like, I wonder if being that high intensity person all the time, definitely contributed to some of the issues that I'm struggling with now. I'll talk a little bit about the red S stuff. I had never heard of this either, but they talked about females dominated the study for this. And just because they talked about their disordered eating, which can be, big with females, as well as, the menstrual cycle disruption and whatnot. But to be fair, like when they talked about the whole chronic undereating thing, this is something that I see all the time. And from being a female, like I have also done myself. Like I'll never forget when I first joined Garage Gym Athlete and I joined the shred track, and it was with coaching with Jerred. And Jerred gave me just a macro plan, and it was almost double what I was eating in a day. And I was doing CrossFit training and not eating as much as it just blows my mind. And I feel like this is so detrimental. And I feel like we always think like less calories in, less consumed, that's how I'm going to lose weight. And it's like, nope, that's not necessarily the answer. And this is showing that this is going to affect you in the long term in severe ways if you don't get that in check.
Sounds like it's hard to come back from too. And like what Kyle's saying, I am in agreement that if you're just following our training and training for an hour a day, it's going to be pretty tough to get to overtraining or red S. But I actually think it might not be that tough if you don't eat, and it's not something I have a tendency to undereat for sure. And it has nothing to do with like not wanting to gain weight or whatever. It has everything to do with like being absent-minded and not thinking about food. And, I wanted to fast 16 hours that accidentally turned into 20. And then I didn't eat that much that day. And that's when I normally start to pump the brakes on fasting. And I'm like, okay, maybe let's just go back to 12 hours and eat more food because I'll get in this bad habit. I can't say that I've seen it, maybe go down any super negative path that I'm aware of. But I do definitely have a tendency to undereat, but not overtrain, if that makes sense. Like I'm just sticking to Garage Gym Athlete training, but I don't eat enough, I'd say, quite often. And I have to, Emily's actually the one who kind of forces me to feed myself, which is good. But yeah, I tried looking up a bunch of stuff about red S, and it does seem the red S is not only for females, but the scientific literature is predominantly females, I think, just because that's more culture based, right? Like females have this tendency to undereat, not be way more focused on their weight than men most of the time. There's all these like stigmas and things, let's just say in the fitness industry or society, whatever you want to say. And so I think that's why females are dominating the literature. It very much can happen in men as well. They're just not represented as much in the science. So I think male or female listening to this, you really pay attention to it, because I mentioned one thing. I just mentioned it quickly. I said, one of the symptoms is a negative impact on HPA or HPG axis. And if you just heard that, you're like, I don't know what the hell that is. Like, who cares? But if I read it off to you, the HPA axis is hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is cortisol. I can't even read all these. Adren, something crazy hormone, prolactin growth hormone. HPG axis, hypothalamic pituitary gondol axis. Hormones include luteinizing hormone, GRH, follicle stimulating hormone, and others. I mean, these are really important hormones. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on any one of these, but if you just look into cortisol, luteinizing hormones, growth hormone, pituitary, like hypothalamic, like we're getting into the brain, we're getting into like all sorts of different areas. And that's scary to me. That's it's unfortunate. And I think a lot of people coming in from some sort of diet culture suffer from this, like under eating. And so however you train, you need to match your nutrition to that. And I don't know if we've talked about that enough, to be honest, on the podcast. We've talked about a lot of things, but I don't know if we've talked enough about making sure your activity level with what you're doing here is matched with your nutrition. Not like if you're going to go into a deficit, you shouldn't be in a 2-year deficit of like, oh, I'm still trying to lose weight. Yes. Like I've always said no more than one cycle, 12 weeks. And then after that, like, let's stop counting macros. I don't think it's healthy mentally. Let's take a break. Let's back off. And then get back on it after that. You need to cycle through these things. Another study we covered earlier in the year had to do with having low body fat and its effect on the immune system. And so that's another thing. Like, I would rather be a little bit fatter and have a better immune system. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to be 5% body fat and look amazing, but at the expense of my immune system functioning properly. There are a lot of problems with this. Like, and I just think it's weird how if you go back to like hundreds of years ago, like someone being, let's just say heavier, was like a sign of like wealth, right? Because you had so much money, you could eat more than you needed. It's like, and now today that's not really the case, right? And we've decided that being able to see abdominal muscles through the skin is attractive and something that we like and desire. I mean, when you word it like that, it sounds really weird, right? But that's where we're at. It's like, wow, I can see your bicep through the skin, and it's like, yeah, like cool. Like that's great. It's just weird stuff that we're after, like these aesthetic goals, and it's really strange, and it's not natural. You can look good, have these goals, whatever you want, but like getting down to these absurd body fat percentage levels, and then also not eating in the process to do so, like you're just ruining your health, ruining it. And so I think that's why I kind of want to footstop this study more as a discussion as opposed to pulling out every little detail of it. Everyone needs to pay attention to this. I don't care who you are.
Preach.
Yeah, you got to monitor, decrease in performance if you're having that, or in energy, and then you have to, if you start seeing, performance, energy, desire, sluggishness, all that stuff, you need to assess, okay, what kind of load you're training in. If you are doing a lot, if you're not eating enough, see which one it could be, the bigger one. And I mean, I know we have a lot of athletes that like to do multiple things, so there's plenty of people that will follow the program and then just do with the program. And then other people are like, okay, well, I also want to do this race thing, so I'm going to add 2 to 3 days of runs on top of that. And then it's like, oh, well, my friend also likes to do this. We like to meet up on Wednesdays and do this workout together, so I need to meet up with them. And I was like, okay, what's your load looking like? And you can't just keep piling on nutrition to counterbalance that, because after a certain point, you're going to be just over taxing yourself. And then so you need to dial something back to a certain extent. And so just being aware of that, I think was important for this, with this study. And then on the flip side of, people that are following a program, but then are just like being so conservative with nutrition and calories and like eating the bare minimum so they can burn a little bit more fat. That's not a good way to go about it either. So seeing which one of the spectrum that you might be on and trying finding a better, homeostasis level.
Yeah, I think the general mindset here should not be, because exactly what Jerred was talking about. I think we get in this mindset of either I need to eat more or I need to eat less. I think we tend to move towards the eat less type thing, especially if we're going for body composition goals and looking better and stuff like that. But instead of thinking like I need to eat more, I need to eat less, just think I need to eat better, and like I need to eat to support what it is that I want to do. And like look at what it is that you want to do, and then find a plan that supports what it is that you want to do or what it is that you're already doing. And also a lot like what Jerred said as well, like a lot of us are probably not eating enough. And that's something that I've found in coaching as well with a lot of our athletes is I find that they're like, they're not eating the right things, but they're also sometimes they're not eating enough. And so it's like your body is actually trying to conserve and hold on to, because you're not feeding it what it needs. It's actually trying to conserve and hold on to every spare calorie it can. And that's why you're seeing issues. That's why you're not going the way that you want to go, is because your body's kind of like conserving. It's in this hoarding mode. And you need to actually start feeding it more and feeding it better so that it will let go of that and actually operate the way it's supposed to. But I just kind of think like, instead of being in this mindset of exclusively, I need to eat more or I need to eat less, just I need to eat better. And that's a much better mindset to be in, and a better outlook just to kind of look at everything. And it's not just eating more or less as far as numbers are, but like eating better is eating better things. Like it's not just about how many calories you're getting or how many carbs or, protein or whatever your macros. It's not just about hitting the numbers. It's about getting those numbers from better sources. And so to me, it's just that's the better approach, is to think about it. I need to eat better versus I need to eat more or less.
And to put it in terms, let's put it in financial terms here as an example, like how your body operates. Say you have a good amount of money in savings, okay, and you have a budget or whatever, and say you slightly overspend in a month, but it's not a lot, just there's a couple of dollars or whatever, and you pull that money from savings. You're like, okay, whatever, that's fine, and then you keep, but now you're starting that habit though, and if you keep doing that, it's not like you're gonna all of a sudden at the end of that month be like, we're out of savings, and that's the same with your body. Your body's not like you undereat one day and then all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, I feel terrible, I do think I'm depressed, and my immune function's down. It's slow. It takes several years, and that's the problem with it. If you were to just go back to that financial example, just not replenish your savings but keep just slowly taking out, 6 years later you're like, why do I have no money? Right. And that's the same thing with this, is like it takes a very long time for your body to be in this detrimental state, but it will just all of a sudden happen. It'll seem like it just came out of nowhere, but it's been happening for like 6 years. You just didn't know it was happening. And so it's just something I want people to pay attention to. But we can move on to the topic. I really enjoyed this study. We're going to cover today our top 3 studies. Yeah.
Question mark?
Well,
I'm Ron Burgundy.
3 each seems like a lot, so we might have to go quickly. Each person gets like just 1 or 2 things they can say about that study and why they liked it. So maybe we'll make it through all 3. But Kyle, should we go with our least favorite of the 3, and then finish with our most favorite?
Does that mean Kyle's the least favorite of this 3?
Hey, you saw what I was doing there. No. I didn't say that. I think
the community already knows what the hierarchy is here. I don't think there's any like veils that left. So like, yeah, it's pretty clear. All right. So are we going 3 to 1?
Out of the bag.
Yes, we're going 3 to 1.
If we're not going to be able to cover all 3 though, then or are we just committing to covering all 3?
No, we're committing to covering all 3, just not talking a whole bunch. Here you go.
3 to 1 was for me. My third.
You're just going to go number 3, and we'll go person by person.
Yeah. So number 3 for me.
Yeah.
Now that we've cleared all that up.
So you're going to do the third, your least favorite.
We prepped real well, guys.
In the interest of saving time, let's just clear up exactly what it is we're doing here. I'm going with number 3 on my list. Was episode 107, which was social media fatigue. And basically my takeaway from that was get off your phone and do the work. That study really looked at especially how social media use right before 30 minutes before a training session impacted performance, and it was significant. There was one group that would watch a documentary and one group that would spend 30 minutes straight on social media, then go do their training session. Significant dip in performance for the social media group. And so my takeaway from that was get off your phone and do the work. So be mindful with what you're doing. Do I get to pick who goes next?
Yeah.
Who's next on the hierarchy?
Stop.
Well, I feel bad now that I said that. I was going to pick Ashley before I said that. So Ashley, you're next.
Right.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about that. I have known you the longest. Anyways.
I'm on the bottom. So
I've known you for over a decade. You're only second. Okay. My favorite or least favorite, I guess. Wait, no, number 3 for me.
It's your least favorite of your favorite 3.
Okay, there you go. We just did this one. It's episode 125, and it's on the back squat stance. And I mean, no surprise, I love back squats. Everyone knows I love any sort of squatting stuff. What I really liked about this study was it kind of showed, I mean, your stance, it just depends on what you're kind of going for, right? So whether you're trying to focus on your quads or on your hammies, on your glutes, but there was no significant like load difference. And so maybe give it a go, maybe give it a try if you want to mix up the stances. And I said, make sure that you do a couple warm-up sets. Don't just go in there hot, like 85% and doing a low bar back squat and then, you die. But anyways, that's my my third favorite one. Joseph.
That was actually my number 4, but my number 3 would be flexible programming, and 2 bonus points for this one because they did it on lacrosse players and they used Team Builder for the programming. I love this one because I believe they gave one group a standard program which they had to follow in order, and the other group got to choose what they did that day. They had the same exact workouts, but they got to choose whatever they did that day, whether it was a high intense day, lower intense day. So it was more about being dialed in the right mindset for the training session that day, which we like. And we give our athletes flexibility to, hey, here's your workout for the weeks. If you need to change them around, that's great. Do that. And, as long as you're mentally dialed in. So I really like that one because the flexible programming I'm a fan of. That was episode 105.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Yeah, so we'll try and get the numbers for everyone out there, so you can go check these out if you want. So it corresponds with obviously the GGA episode, so you can just search our feed. All right, so jumping into mine, my least favorite of my favorite was episode 88. I think I titled it "Your Phone is Making You Fat." Anyway, the actual study is sedentary behaviors and their relationship with body composition of athletes. And I really like the study because it's just a really great reminder that you can have your nutrition locked in, you can train your hour a day, but if at the end of the day you don't have a very active lifestyle and you're just sitting on your bum for 9 hours a day or whatever, and then you get home from work and then you sit down some more to watch TV, it doesn't matter if you trained that day, you might feel good about yourself. Like there's a lot of damage to your health that can't be undone. And so a reminder to keep moving. If you need to set reminders to go out for a walk in the morning or something, or middle of your day, do it on your lunch break, like try to stay active, even if you have a sedentary job. I think this got highlighted for a lot of people, made things worse through the pandemic. And so hopefully none of those poor habits were, stuck around in the more post-pandemic world than we were in. So yeah, that was one I really, really liked. Back to you, Kyle.
Number 2 on my list of favorites is from episode 1, and it's a sleep duration on performance. So, and I think this kind of goes similar to what my takeaway from the study today was about eating better versus eating more or less. I think I'll say the same thing, like sleep better. It's not just about sleeping more, it's about sleeping better. So sleep duration, so it is kind of about sleeping more, but it's not just about sleeping more, it's also about sleeping better. If you're not sleeping well while you're asleep, then your performance is still going to go down. But obviously the people in this study who slept more and slept better performed better in their training sessions. So in case you didn't know, sleep is vital to your performance. So go sleep better. That was episode 81.
81. Sleep. It's a great one.
My silver medal is episode 116, and it talks about the minimum effective dose. And I really liked it because they talked a lot about heavy low rep sets mixed in with like back off sets. A lot of what some of my training is right now. And I just really loved it for people who maybe are, coming back from injury or recovery or postpartum or whatnot. But it just kind of shows that you don't have to go through full throttle all the time, like we have talked about multiple times. And you can still be just as strong. So yeah, that is minimum effective dose, episode 116. Joe?
Actually, I think you just copied off of my test.
I did not.
Because that was number 2 for me. Because I love that one as well.
Oh.
So another one that I will probiotics and gains. We looked at a study that they examined that they just had people change their gut health. It was a bunch of overweight individuals and they had a whole bunch of issues, but all they did, they didn't even put them on a workout protocol. All they did was did nothing for one group and then improved their gut health and put them on a gut health improvement regimen to the other group. And all of their markers got better. They lost weight. They did all these things. That was just fixing gut health. So if it does it for just doing nothing, then think of it how it's going to be for whenever you do start working out, because it has effects throughout your entire body for everything. So how important gut health is. We've tried to bring it up in certain, book reviews and then even other studies. There's not a whole lot of studies to pull from because like gut health is still being gotten into more, but that was really going because, we talk about it so much. It's good to have more studies to back that up.
In Fiber Fuel, the book, we did a book review on that. It was good.
Talking
Do
about
you know what number that
studies,
was?
Jerred. 117.
Yep.
117. All right. Cool. So my next one, kind of maybe an odd pick, was episode 97, how allergy meds are blocking the exercise response.
Yeah.
I just felt like that one was kind of, I just felt like it was a crazy, unexpected, like I didn't know that. It just kind of blindsided me. And so what they did in that study was give people really high doses of allergy medications. I don't remember it was like, they're called like N1 and N2. So it was like really high doses of what would be typical allergy medications. And it basically blunted your results from any sort of like cardiovascular training. And it's just like, oh, that's okay. Like maybe don't take allergy medications if you're trying to improve your fitness level. And so that was just, I think that's good information to know, and why I also wanted to say it again on the podcast. If you're like, oh, wow, I take a lot of allergy medication and I can't see any results in fitness, be like, well, there you go. Let's maybe start there. And so that one was really good.
If you're
Kyle, back to you.
Having allergy issues, you might need to sleep better, work on your gut health, and only do the minimum effective dose.
Whoa,
man, look at him pulling it all together. Also known as following the EO3 elements. So backed by science, people. Yeah. That's our sponsor for the podcast.
Woohoo!
Honorable mention is for what could have been is the tripping old people study that we didn't actually cover. So
what could have been?
So basically just like premise of the study, that's probably my favorite of all the studies, but we didn't cover that.
We didn't cover it.
We could have gotten a lot out of it.
We'll bring it back. I don't know if I can find it again. Is it anywhere? I think I deleted it from the archive.
We just threw that one out into oblivion. We're not even touching that. Anyway, so honorable mention for that one. But my favorite, drum roll please, favorite of all the studies we covered was actually, it was one study broken into 3 episodes, which was episodes 118 through 120. And that was our Weekend Warrior Fueling series. And so we dove deep into macronutrients, and not just macronutrients, but supplements as well when it comes to fueling for specifically for endurance events. But also we talked a whole lot about just kind of what we were talking about from the study today, just how to fuel properly for your training and for your goals and all those kinds of things. So definitely go check those out. That was my favorite study of the whole year. Also really looking forward to possibly doing some more series like that, because that was really cool. It was a really cool series that we did.
Yeah.
And if
could you imagine, I was just saying, could you imagine being like the intern when in like the lab when they introduced the old man tripping study? They're like, hey, new guy, we got some 70-year-olds coming in later. You're going to be the one responsible for tripping them when they're on the treadmill. You're like, what?
You're not liable.
What's too aggressive? Like, how do I
wonder if they wore like a spacesuit or something, so like when they fell, they didn't like hurt themselves.
Like the bubble wrap from Little Giants.
A harness so they can't fall all the way down. It's just kind of a fall. Yeah, maybe if we dove into it, we'd actually know the details.
We'd know what happened. Yeah. Ashley, you're number one.
As far as the fueling series on our YouTube channel, I compiled all 3 of the studies into one episode, so you can just go to there and watch the entire 2.5 hour. It's just the study, no topic, no anything else. So you just go to that one and put yourself on a movie night and just talk about
fun movie night. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's my kind of movie night.
Popcorn and fueling strategies.
If someone posts a picture in the group of them having a movie night with the Weekend Warrior Fueling series on YouTube, That would be really cool.
What are you doing?
I'm committing us to something.
I'll give you a rower.
Yeah.
Out of Kyle's pocket.
Yeah. Trampus will send you something, I guess. He doesn't know yet.
All right, Ashley.
Are you sure? Okay. My number one is not shocking at all. It's episode 103, Rocking Out. And what I love about it is that science proves what I love, which is that pre-workout music, workout music motivates you and gets you going. And so, I mean, I love that this was even a study. Like, I thought this was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so it talked about reps and velocity and all sorts of like power output and motivation, which was all greater with music. So I just remember that my killing comfort for that one was, if you're a non-music kind of listener, like just maybe give it a go, even if it's not during, right? Because this was like they would listen to it prior to and then do their training sesh. So yep, it's my gold medal. Joe.
So when we decided on this topic, right when this was said, I knew that this one was going to be in that. I wanted to make sure that we covered it. And that is the only one that we've done on COVID. And it was a very, very huge study done in South Korea, thousands and thousands of people. But it basically showed that if you do resistance training and conditioning, endurance training, aka concurrent training, that your symptoms, severity, everything COVID related was dramatically better. If you did those separately, they were good, but if you did both of them, they were dramatically better than people that didn't. And they looked at they compared years of medical history with all these people and all their past, files of okay, how active they were, and then when and if they got COVID, what the symptoms were, how they progressed through it, their ICU rates, all these things just dramatically better. And it was just like, hey, people, maybe if you just worked out a little bit throughout your life, then you're just going to be healthy. I mean, it seems duh, but especially this big thing, that pandemic that's happening, it's like, hey, if you would have just been listening about your health and doing all these preventative measures, then just look at how it was crazy how in-depth and that study was. So I definitely wanted to mention that one. That is probably my gold medal.
If I remember right, it was also based off the minimum effective dose, right? It was 30 minutes a day minimum, was dramatically is what was kind of
it wasn't anything crazy.
It's 150 minutes a week. So 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week.
Resistance training. And that was basically and some conditioning. And that was basically 75 minutes a week of rigorous.
Okay.
intensity.
Not even. Okay.
So it doesn't even count for level 1. So don't even do it.
Yeah. They're not even level 1 in the 200 challenge. And they did do it better.
Week.
All right, Jerred.
Mine. So I just want to highlight overall, we did a lot of cool studies in the year. And I think a big kind of, principle we covered was, something that we're just part of our philosophy is you don't have to be so intense. You don't have to train so hard. You can actually go way overboard with intensity. You can go way overboard with how much you train, just time in the gym, the flexible training that Joe mentioned, just a big picture, things are a lot more flexible and you need to be less intense than you think. And, that's kind of, if I had to wrap up a lot of the studies that we've done, that was kind of almost my takeaway for the year's worth of studies is we kind of kept coming back to those points somehow. But it's not my number one. So I just wanted to give that first of kind of what I thought. My number one was number 114. And pretty much you always get me when you bring mental training into it. The study is called Ain't Just Imagination: Effects of Motor Imagery Training on Strength and Power Performance of Athletes During D-Training. It's done in 2021. And it was just an awesome study. They looked at resistance trained basketball players 6 weeks, and they just found what we've talked about, sitting around thinking about things. It can actually increase physical performance. I've always been absolutely fascinated with that fact that we can, how powerful our mind is. I don't think that we are anywhere close to figuring out what our brains can actually do. And I think when we do find that out, my grandchildren will be dead. That's how far away I think we are from like actually learning how powerful the mind is. But, you know, I think that there's a long way to go, and our brains are incredibly powerful. And if we could just focus a little bit more, less distractions, we could do a lot of cool things. And I think that studies like this prove it. And I think it's really awesome. So if you want to hear more about that one and all the details, that's 114. And it was a really cool one.
Look at that. We got through it.
We got through
all of them.
Now let's knock out this workout. The workout of the week.
Zone 2 Murph.
2 Murph. I'll brief it. So you do Murph in zone 2. Murph.
That's the episode.
If you don't know what Murph is, you run 1 mile, you perform 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and then you will run 1 mile. Whether or not you wear a vest in this one has nothing to do with it being the Murph workout, and has everything to do with where your heart rate is going to be, whether or not you can wear that vest. So if you can wear the vest and stay in zone 2, nice. You're fit.
You're a beast.
Keep going.
Nice.
Keep doing it.
Nice.
That's awesome. But if you can't handle it, don't worry about it. This is a very, very challenging, frustrating workout. So that's it. Zone 2, heart rate the entire time. And if you get out of zone 2, no penalties or anything. It's just like stand around until you get back into zone 2. There should be no work performed in zone 1 or zone 3 or 4 or 5. You should just, because that's how I tackle it. Like if I'm doing push-ups and it's like getting out of the zone, then I'll seriously just lay there and like look at my heart rate monitor until I'm back into zone 2 and then start doing push-ups again. Very, very frustrating workout. But yeah, what are the tips for this one?
There's also a 60-minute time cap.
Yes, just so you don't drive yourself absolutely insane.
Yeah, don't forget that. My tip for this one is always drop your ego, because it is going to be frustrating to not be able to go as fast as you normally can, whether that's in the run or whether that's in the calisthenics. So just drop your ego and understand what the true purpose of the workout is, which is to increase your work capacity. And that's what we're doing here. So it's energy system training. There's a specific purpose behind doing it this way. And so drop your ego and just do it the right way. As far as something to listen to, if you need something to listen to, this is a great one for a podcast or an audiobook. Just something to be nice and chill. And I said that on purpose so that Ashley has to come up with something else.
Jerk.
Also, since you're measuring your heart rate zone, it would be helpful to have something that is good at measuring a heart rate and nice and accurate. And we just did an episode about that. So go listen to that episode about which one you should use. Ashley, you're next.
Apparently, if you're a Square Watch user, there's a lot of hate in the group. All right, here we go.
You really didn't like my Square Watch comment, did you?
Well, and then it like got brought up in the webinar.
Yeah.
Man, there was people drank their haterade. All right. I love a good when it's like naturally zone 2 for me. For Meet Yourself, it's always a lot of fun. Man, that was going to be my one, especially after being someone who was like, yeah, music backed up by science. I can't really. Just for me, like I know that I'm very much, it's almost like a metronome for me, music can be. And so I have to like back off of that. But yeah, I just kind of agree with Kyle. You're going to have to just mentally shut it, Kyle. Mentally just like know that this is, the heart rate is the most challenging part, right? So you're just going to have to back off a little bit. And I know how frustrating that can be. And even sometimes your wearable fails. I'm pretty sure this is the one my wearable failed on me. And just like, oh my gosh. And which makes it even more frustrating, if you will. Even Scott tried to do this with me. And I just remember he was like, he got like halfway through and was like, screw this. I'm not doing this in zone 2. I was like, this is not even the workout for it, but
you failed.
Yeah,
Self-met.
Exactly.
Yep.
I know. He met himself. Yeah, you're not wrong. But it's a good one. Make sure you give it a go. And like Jerred said, if you can wear the vest or not wear the vest, like that's, it is what it is. And make sure you scale down accordingly. yeah. And funnily enough, air squats is what makes my heart rate spike. Not sure what makes everybody, like the pull-ups, not that much.
Everyone.
Yeah, because push-ups, I feel like I'm on the ground, so maybe that's why my heart rate kind of goes back down when I get up, and maybe it's just being up and coming up and down. So make sure you kind of breathe through those, because your breathing is what helps the heart rate a ton. So I make sure that I kind of slow my breathing down, which, we used to do a lot of what's the kettlebell breathing ladders and stuff. There's a reason for that. So anyways, Joe.
So if this is your first time doing it, do what Kyle said. Just swallow your pride, because I think this workout has a rite of passage that you have to do it once and get really frustrated and not want to do it again. And now that after you've already done it, this is your second time, you want to be more tactical with it. Do your push-ups as fast as possible, because your heart rate's going to be typically lower then. I know for me, that's what I was doing. Pull-ups, keep as little as possible. You should be kind of straddling the line, getting to muscle fatigue instead of like trying to increase your heart rate, because the air squats are what is going to jack your heart rates. And hopefully that doesn't set you up for failure, and then you can still keep count of everything. One thing, so if you can figure out a good way to try to do those reps, cool. But I just think that would be an interesting way to try it.
Yeah, I don't have a lot. You guys kind of hit it all. Breathing, how to keep your heart rate down, all good stuff. I think just doing the workout though, and staying in zone 2 is going to be the biggest part of the challenge. And I think that people need to realize that and get away from the physical side of it. Most of the tips we do give are physical, like Joe, like with how to do kipping pull-ups and push-ups and all that stuff's important and will help you. But it's the frustration that I want you to experience. Like that's where I want you to get to. That's why the workout was designed. Like you're supposed to get frustrated, then see what you can do with that. See what you can do with that frustration. Can you get rid of it? Can you talk yourself into a different state? So these are the mental strategies you should be working on almost anytime you do a Meet Yourself Saturday. Meet Yourself Saturday doesn't just mean make it hard. And so you're like, oh yeah, that was hard. Hard. Like, no, it's you're getting to a place where you can meet yourself, have a conversation, change the conversation. And so this workout is great for that, because a lot of times it's in intense moments that we want to stop or slow down, where we have to push ourselves and talk through. This one's the opposite. You're like, I could do this faster. I could go harder. And it's like, you're not allowed. You need to chill out and see how you handle it, and walking yourself through that. All of our athletes who've been through enough zone 2 training during deload weeks get it. But I still feel like this Murph throws a different element into it, because it's not a monostructural movement pattern like running. There are multiple different modalities. Your heart rate's going to respond to different times to different things. And so that's just where the frustration comes from. So embrace it and see what you can do with it. And then when you get frustrated in life, see if you can apply the principles you've learned about yourself to be able to change that conversation. Are we seeing why we do what we do around here? All right, cool. Well, that's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for everybody who's listened to all those studies that we talked about and listened to this episode. We appreciate everyone who's a part of the community. And if you want to join in our challenge that we're doing all year, go ahead and do that. Go to garagegymathlete.com, sign up for a 14-day free trial. And for my weekly reminder, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. Gym Athlete Podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Thanks for listening.